Hello everybody and welcome to At Home with the Moons.
It's another Sunday instalment, which means a little bit more history and a bit of family.
Indeed, and anyone that has seen in the week, we have been doing the restoration of the old kitchen, and that's been such an amazing job to do, isn't it? It's been a bit dusty, very hard work, but really, really worth it. And what we're uncovering, which we'll show you in a second, has just been lovely.
Yeah, it's definitely that journey of exploration that we're sharing with you, and it's gonna, I think it's just gonna get more and more interesting because we're uncovering so much as we go. Not only are we uncovering the physical factors, but we're also doing a lot of research and trying to just delve a bit deeper into exactly what went on here. And I think it is very, very exciting.
It is indeed. So for any of you that don't know, she's a 19th century farmhouse that once belonged to a much larger estate, and we're currently uncovering the dwellings and the kitchen and the different areas within the house that would have kept the farm and its workers going. So it's got all sorts going on here. We have a well.
Yeah, we've got the forge, we've got a footprint of an old chapel. So you can only imagine that it definitely was the hub of activity. And with you guys on this journey, we're just going to expand as much as we can on that story because it's of such interest to us. And it's only when you start, going beneath the surface, you really find all that history. So let's go inside and give you a little update.
Let's go.
This is the main doorway into what was our snug, our salon, our relaxing area. And little did we know, behind these plasterboard walls was the true origins of this room, and that was the kitchen. And we're just starting to expose it. So let's switch round and I'm just going to give you a little update.
So here we are in the old kitchen, and look what she has revealed. We knew they were here, well, we hoped they were here, but it has been painstakingly difficult for Nick to remove all of this old plaster here to give us these beautiful old bricks. And
yeah, we didn't know to what extent they were there. We obviously knew on one side, as we walked down into the cave, you might have seen in a previous episode, there are the other side of the bricks, but we didn't know whether there was a lining, and the walls here are quite thick. They're very thick on the exterior walls and some of the interior walls also, but we just didn't know. And obviously I've kind of gone across just to have a look, and it does look like it is the whole way across. But interestingly enough, on the other side, to the bread oven and where the big open fire is, there's more to explore. But Jenny's come up with an idea because we have been, it has to be said, pretty confused as to why the house is configured in the way that it is.
Yeah, so it's an extremely strange house because the rooms have two doors here. It mirrors it on the other side, and it mirrors it the same upstairs. So all the bedrooms have two doors in, and the downstairs rooms have two doors in or out, depending what way you're going. And I think behind this wall was once a walkway. It was a passageway. It wasn't the stairs down into the cellar. I might be wrong, but we're going to go and show you in the cellar now and show you the difference of the stone. And that would make sense because we believe this was a house for a large farming community for them to work, as we said before. And these were individual dwellings. So if you've got a walkway between, it means that each house is separate. So
yeah, it really is, and that's the interesting thing. It's like four little houses under one roof, and when you start looking, and as you're going to join us on that little journey of exploration today, it really starts to make sense because we've got behind this wall it's ancient, the staircase, but it's obviously not as ancient or as old as the house. And then when you go up, there's another one that again mirrors it, but that's a lot later, a lot more recent, and that goes right up to the third floor. So predominantly there was two levels with, we think, an attic above, which wasn't used, might have been used for storage, but actually lived in, there were four little separate houses. So let's go and take a look. So we're going to do a bit of a point of view now, and you're going to follow me through this little rabbit warren on that journey. So let's go.
it's not going to be quite so cinematic, I don't think. You're going to have to bear with us. So this is the cellar that we're going into now. And as you can see, there is the brick wall, and Nick's going to turn the light on.
So here we are. We're actually walking down into the cellar, and this staircase that Jenny's at the top of, and I'm midway down, is very recent. And here is what Jenny was talking about. It's the difference between the old stone foundation, or the part of the cave, and then we've got these red bricks, and they go all the way up. But what Jenny noticed was here. There's a little cutout in this wooden beam, and that would have taken a bearer coming this way. So you can see that. But more interesting, as you move along, it's obviously at some stage had bearers all the way through, and there is evidence. You can just see as Jenny pans around there's a hole, and it goes all the way along. So the suggestion is, and as Jenny said, that this went all the way through, straight through, and there could have been some sort of trapdoor somewhere along here, because there's no other evidence, even down in the cave, of any entrance. All there is these markings, and obviously this is a bit of a giveaway. As you walk through, it would have just gone from one end to the other, as Jenny said. So let's go back up top and try and orientate what we can do. This side here is the back of the kitchen, the original kitchen. They're those lovely red bricks. And again, there is evidence of somewhere in this wall where they would have had those bearers. But who knows, it's just the beginning. But let's go round the other side and see if we can fathom it out. You always need evidence to back up your theory, and the more we're stripping off, the more evidence we're finding. And here, these fairly recent metal plates and bolts and screws and all sorts of stuff going on hangs the door, holds the door down to the cellar. So that's very recent. That could have been the previous owner. And I believe in this area, this little area of 4 doors, that behind this plasterboard, there's going to be some more secrets, and that's all in those restoration videos. We're going to peel that back, and we're getting to see the skeleton, what is behind the exterior, which is really interesting. And if I shut this door, I can show you what I mean. Because here we have a door that is an old door. We have very modern wood. This is plywood, so we know that's recent. We've got another bit of lovely oak, which someone has prepared, and they've prepared it to cover up this height difference. You can see the original lintel, which is a beautiful bit of oak. It's all nice and wobbly, and it's all on the wrong angle, but when it's exposed, it's going to look fantastic as a bit of detail. And then it goes on to the red bricks. But what's really interesting is that these red bricks, if you look at the patterning or the way they've been laid on their sides all the way across the wall. But when we get to here, we've got the full length of the brick on every other course, and that denotes a pier or an ending of the wall. So here was the ending, but it could just be the very beginning of what is on the other side and up above. And it's the same here. So we have 2 piers. And obviously, as I said, this isn't the original door. What we've got to do is remove this, look behind it, and as we take off, I think, this plaster above and the plasterboard behind, we're just going to find out a little bit more about that area, the TARDIS. So let's go through. So this is the other side of the room, or the other end. And here is the door, which marries up perfectly to this oak lintel. So it is correct. And it has these little window openings which have been blanked off with oak. If we open the door, you can see through onto the other door that one mirrors this one. And the odd one out is this door here with these beautiful bits of steel in it. And that would have been to the outside. So let's go on through. And as we come into this space here, this is the beginning. This is the alleyway, the big thoroughfare where the open doors are at one end. We've got light coming in because there would have been a smaller door behind me. And some of you have commented, and there have been a few suggestions about these rectangular shapes. And amongst all the stuff we've moved from where we're doing that restoration, you can see this beautiful oak that's been worn. It's been rounded by the animals' necks. And that was because the cows put their heads through, and there would have been some sort of manger to control the feed. Feed is it was so scarce and so precious, and the last thing they wanted to be doing was just throwing it on the floor in the barn. So this facilitated that perfectly. Cows could just put their heads in, and there was very, very minimal wastage. And above me would have been open as well. This is also recent woodwork. All the lighter coloured wood, which you're going to see as the episodes unfold, have been just put in. So very recently, as I said before, it would have been open, and above me to the left would have been the hay store. And we're going to spin round now, and we're going to look at that passageway. It's now time to use your imagination. And as I walked over the very, very oldest floorboards we have on the property. And they would have gone straight through here. This staircase wasn't here, it was just an open alleyway. And the reason for that is, it goes straight through to where the piggery and our kitchen is now, where the bread oven is. But just to the side of us, as you know, that was the kitchen. And we believe there was a dining area to the other side where Jenny's bear room is. And it would have given them direct access to that alleyway and the animals. And it was very, very important to have that ease of movement. You didn't need to keep going through all the doors. We're just going to go on a little bit further up and try and explain the other level to this passageway. As we go up, here would have been the level of that second alleyway. And the way that was accessed was from the outside. And in the barn lounge side, there would have been another staircase. So you'd have, to get to the second floor, these weren't here. You would have walked up inside the barn to access the rooms, or behind where Jenny is, which we're going to show you in a second, there would have been an outside staircase. But we won't find out where this level is, we won't see evidence until we take this off. But that's going to be in another episode. A little bit of the mystery unravels. Behind me here is a window, but it was a doorway, and outside would have been some stairs. We don't know how they were configured, whether they came up from the side or whether they went down straight away from me. But just behind me is the roof to the bread oven and then the piggery, our kitchen. But none of that was there originally. This was the front of the house. And to the side of me we have those doors which mirror one another. They've got those openings which we think could have had glass in just to let a bit of light into the space. But more importantly, they've got their very own locks. And that is because these areas needed to be segregated. It gave the people the privacy who were living here to be able to lock their little house down. And as we said before, this was just, we're thinking, a lot of little houses all joined together. I'm now standing on where the hay store would have been. So below us would have been the cows, and in front is that area where they would have fed them and where they would have brought in through those very large doors anything bulky that they needed to get in. But more importantly, it was just easy once it was here to be stored and be dry and be safe, and then it could have just been thrown down for the feed. And over there you can see that opening, and that is the first floor level, which would have mirrored what is downstairs, another passageway with the two doors here and the two doors at the other end where we were standing, where they had those locks and you saw the light coming in through that window. That's something we're going to explore in a minute. But somewhere here would have been a staircase. This is all new, but to the wall something fixed so that they could have gone up and independently access those private living areas. Let's go outside and have a look. So we're standing at the front of the property, and here is the piggery, which is now our kitchen, and behind that the bread oven. You can see the extractor we've put on. That's going to be in another episode all about the history of that bread oven. And up above where Snowy's sitting on that window ledge is a very recent opening. That is actually our bathroom. It's the ensuite to our bedroom on the third floor. As I said before, I think that was just a storage area because it would have just had a loft hatch. But below where those windows are, someone has put a lintel in at some stage underneath for the window to sit on. But we know when we did those bread oven restorations and I was in there doing work around the brick area and the wall, I could see really clearly that is a full length door. And this was never here. The original barn, as I said, was always there. And this is fairly recent addition, the piggery and the bread oven. So on this side would have been another exterior staircase which would have led up to that first floor passageway with the two doors on one end all the way down to the two doors on the other. So it makes sense. What we're going to find out, hopefully, is when this arrived, and that was the need for the piggery and the bread oven. I think that was all about that big cultural change and the necessity to have everything they needed here for the local community. It's now time. I can just hear the rumblings of the family. We're going to go on a little adventure with the kids. So come join us and we'll catch up a bit later.
Put it in your bucket?
Penny bucket.
Oh, good boy. Want another one?
Ice cream. Strawberry. Strawberry.
Pull it off.
I pull it off.
There you go.
Nom nom.
That's it. Well done.
Another one.
Another one. Oh no. Mummy dropped it. Hold on. There it is. Got it?
I go there. Birdie. Look, birdie.
Like a birdie. Let's see.
Good? Is that num num?
Nom nom.
Oscar Robin has made great headway into what was the wild strawberry and banana cake with a few chocolate chips dropped in. It's been a really lovely afternoon and thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the history of our beautiful home, and it will continue in the next episode. There are those restoration ones in the week, but it's more about the family and the history of the home at the weekends. Lots of love and stay magical, and we'll see you very soon.